the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It is a pleasure to be your host as always, and the Dublin Racing Festival is in the history books. We are going to review, obviously, that, talk about the action over the weekend, and discuss the remaining 5 weeks and what kind of lies ahead. The journey to Cheltenham is really in effect. To join me as always, it is a delight to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin. Callum, been a busy few days, how are we?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, quite frantic. Muscle Brothers Sunday, which was day one of the DRF rather than day two. So the switcheroo from Saturday to Monday, which put a lot of people in flux, I think. But yeah, there was a lot to kind of really process and a lot of real shocks. I mean, punting wise was horrific for me. I mean, a 20-1 winner from Red Risk, Musselburgh kind of really saved my skin. Really, I mean, there's not a lot, not much else to really cheer about. Really, so yeah. There's a lot of kind of winded kind of connections and owners and trainers and jockeys and punters alike that have got a lot of kind of head scratching, a lot of potential, really high profile reroutes as well now that, to consider, and all your bookmakers are now chucking a non-runner no bet at you now as well. So that's another kind of skew of the markets as well that you've got to take into consideration. So it's all kind of really kind of shaken up the last 3 or 4 days massively in a lot of different aspects.
Well, you were at Musselburgh on Sunday. What were your kind of any kind of festival takeaways in terms of Musselburgh over the 2 days?
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe more so than Saturday. I thought Absolute Doyen was pretty good in Scottish Stairs Novices Hurdle for Paul Nicholls. I mean, was odds on entitled to do it. Did it very nicely. And yeah, interestingly enough, though, that's also qualified for a pair tump, so I think we'd probably go that route rather than kind of Albert Bartlett. But yeah, I thought that was an option. Nicholls had quite a good weekend there, that she usually does, targets. The other one, probably that kind of messy Triumph trial where I thought Secret Force shaped quite well out the back and just got outpaced, and I think he might be lined up for a Bulls for Gavin Cromwell. Owner Jimmy Fife was kind of alluding to it afterwards. It's his other one that won. Beatty Blush of the Skeletons.
The only one in Musselburgh over the 2 days. Major
plus. Yeah, which was the first race of 2 weeks. And I managed to scramble too. I actually did all right covering on the track on Sunday. There was good word for the first one that beat Mossy Fen Road.
Yes.
And then Alistair Ralph Yard did a good kind of time things, and Go West was quite well backed as well. Kind of jumped from the front. Yeah, Mossy Fen Road went. I mean, the whole stand were watching it in the first circuit, going, "What are you doing up front?"
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Smoke Trail had gone mental pace and was chasing it and going, "This, you're going to pay the price for this." Captain Hugo came down and travelling well, was going to beat it, and the other one came and took the pieces anyway. But connections are still quite keen, going supreme by the sounds of it, but it's completely burnt its boat now after that for me. Probably not good enough beforehand, but even now, limitations explained. Even though for one of the worst tactical rides I think you'll ever see in the flesh. I mean, the whole stand were looking at it, apart from the students. I mean, the whole stand were just looking at it, astonished, going, "What the hell is this?" You know, it's absolutely atrocious. And you know, you're sank left, right, and centre early doors, and I had the backup one in a speculative play spot anyway, and had 5 of the first 6 legs. They paid about 26 grand. 4 units survived in it, so I mean that was galling driving back, and worst. And then you're like open mouthed at that, getting beaten open mouth like the Final Demand, beating the big screen. So things like that. So yeah, it was quite a good day. It's a wonderful place, Musselburgh, and it was well attended. I wasn't at the student bit at the end where they had the kind of rave stuff, but I think they kind of largely they keep their own business and they keep themselves to themselves, really, and your hard and core kind of, ignore them really and stay on the left side and they stay on the right side of the track. So yeah, it was grand. It was great to go and quite draining by the end of it, but no, it's pretty enjoyable still.
Yeah, it was a busy few days. We'll go before we get into the kind of big takeaways for the Dublin Racing Festival. We obviously had Sandown as well. The Scilly Isles, Kitzbühel fell quite early on. Was kind of jumping right anyway, and you weren't overly surprised. 6 Mile Bridge obviously beat Calaconte. 6 Mile Bridge again is probably a horse that's quite limited. I felt with Calaconte, I don't know about you. I just felt I don't think Sandown fences were her bag at all. Like, I think she was having to do a lot more. It was one of those silly aisles where I don't think we've learned an awful lot, but it's good that the winner, obviously Fergal O'Brien getting a Grade 1 winner again is good for him. But I don't think we've learned a lot. We've learned an awful lot with Cheltenham in mind.
Possibly not. I mean, the thing is, there when you go and win a 2.5 mile Grade 1 like that, and then there's not really maybe a great deal for you at Cheltenham. I think connections were quite keen going Arkle rather than Brynvisey. I would go on up and trip really with him. I think he's a kind of steer. If you win a race like that from the front, I think you probably want to be a steer, but he won to air nicely beforehand, then came here. And yeah, I mean, on my account, it was one of many episodes of punting idiocy, really. I mean, Calaconte, the last two seasons, I mean, I do like her, but the last 2 seasons, she was really bright, start straight out of the blocks and then plateaued out come this time. And she is a very small filly and small mare and big fences like that. And even when she jumped to the first, I mean, she was kind of like climbing over them like, like kind of tower blocks. It's just everything seemed to be hard work. It's probably testament to her kind of dogged character that she got that close, really. But she was never winning that, and they come rat-a-tat-tat in the railway, and it's just really physically real challenge for her. So it was a poor bet back in her, really, in hindsight, because that's what I was feared of. And Kitzbühel, I think, likes flat tracks and lugging right there, and I wasn't really too surprised that happened to him. And I think he can bounce back at something like Aintree, really. I think that's his kind of bag, Aintree, Kempton. I think that's what he is. But I think the winner's a bit underestimated. I do think that was a really good performance from the front. Got them all in the stretch. Even the favourite kind of came round. Kept round. I think he would have maybe struggled to beat him. I think it was that good. And his sire, they get better with age, and he seems to be steadily improving. And they roll the dice at Cheltenham, he's definitely one to monitor, because they're two now kind of novice chases that are definitely opened up a little bit, and he's in there in figures, really is.
Well, let's get into the Dublin Racing Festival. What we're going to do is we're going to review all 8 Grade 1s and then maybe just talk about kind of other horses that caught our eye over the other races. We'll start with the Ladbrokes Novices Chase on Sunday, which was the first Grade 1 of the meeting was Saturday, but moved to Monday. Turn up, obviously, Final Demand get beat at 3-10. Cade Dothy, stablemate, won. Western Fold finished second. Jimmy DeSoy was just way too keen and fell at the last. I think he is obviously one that you can't really kind of take and trust. Where do we start here? Like this, I've got a theory in Final Demand I want to throw at you maybe in a minute, but in terms of this race, what did we learn?
I'd give the winner a lot of credit. I mean, he was definitely not far behind on what he'd achieved behind Final Demand in terms of numbers, really. His last effort was good when he could have powered away from Wingmen in the second last and beat Wingmen in a similar manner than Final Demand did. And there was good money for him late on in the ring by the sounds of it. They went off 5-1. And he was just far more comfortable on the ground, far more in his comfort zone, jumped far better, and really put the favourite under pressure from a long, long way out. Did it well, and goes there with every chance, and he should probably be now favourite in front of Final Demand for the Brown Visor on the back of that, because there really wasn't, on face value, too many excuses.
Well, he was. I think he's obviously improved for fences. I think he's probably improved for headgear as well. Western Fold, I think, run a good race in terms of. I didn't expect him to go in the ground at all, but he does have form in behind Daffodil Fury and Envoy Allen. So it's not like he's a bad horse at all. And I actually think he will improve if there's better ground at Cheltenham. Final Demand, a lot of people are saying it's the sire they don't go well off the bridle. I've seen plenty of walk in the parks find off the bridle. I don't necessarily go with that, but there's better people than me that have shared that theory. I don't know what you think about that. I thought a couple of times he was kind of corkscrew in the air. I just don't think the ground, again, was ideal for him. I'm not necessarily saying that he'll bounce back on this because it is a massive letdown. I wouldn't go back in at 7-2. He's still favourite. I don't think he should be favourite. But I've kind of, I'm not necessarily sure with, I'm not necessarily sure I want to throw the slip away. I think he can bounce back. I'm just not, again, I'm kind of just pickled with it, to be honest.
When I watched it live instantly at Musselburgh, after 4 fences, I thought there's something physically wrong with this horse.
That could be a thing. They've said no
I
to
thought,
that.
I thought there was something wrong. And the fact that connections were so miffed afterwards suggested the same. I'm actually kind of hoping they find something with him because that was horrible effort. And really, I mean, he gets in tight, everything. The ground, it's not ideal, probably doesn't what he wants, but it's not an excuse to perform like that. And is he a bit soft? Yeah, possibly. I mean, you get beat in the tunnels. And everyone say the tunnels are a bad race. Well, the winner was in the tunnels and was beat. It might not be reflecting well in the top three in the tunnels, but in behind, it's not too bad. 6 Mile Bridge was in the tunnels. Cade Donny was in the tunnels.
So, build up, yeah.
So I mean, he looks like a kind of unit that should be. I mean, everyone's kind of thinking potential wise, bona fide Gold Cup horse, but at Limerick, a lot of people weren't impressed. I thought it was fine, but again, he didn't really need to do anything off the bridle there. And at Cheltenham, he didn't really find as much as he thought either. So that theory is plausible. If he doesn't get it his own way, then he might struggle a bit. But yeah, I thought there was something kind of crabbing at him or something like that. And that's what it looked. That's what it looked to me. I mean, I don't know what they've done. If something will come out the wash at the end of the week or something, if they do check him over. But yeah, it was really poor. And to be honest, the writing was on the wall from really, really long way out. I thought he would pull him up as well. And the fact he didn't, it means that he might have even had a harder race trying to get back into it because expend extra energy. I wouldn't be going anywhere near him for a Browns on the back of that.
I don't think I'd be going back in again. I can see. Do you remember a few years ago when Facile Vega get beat?
Yes, it was kind of back in, yeah, and they found something there. But that day they found something here. Here we don't know, and if they don't, I'd be even more concerned really. And the fact that he wasn't miles clear in figures anyway. I mean, it was kind of like potential. It was kind of everyone can optimate his potential, saying right, we might see a kind of wow performance here. There's only 3 other horses here to beat. A lot seems to be in his favour. The ground might be a slight doubt, but he should handle it. He looks robust enough to do that, and he just looked really brittle. And I mean, I imagine it'd be kind of like, another kind of similar thing is, remember when Bob Ollinger went a bit wrong? It reminded me of that, where there was just nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. Getting into them tight, I mean, there might be a kind of pretty complex thing that you might not find there, like maybe some sort of like joint or issue or something like that. I mean, it looked that bad that there was something not right there.
Yeah.
See if they find something amiss, but to be honest, I can't really have him here at all on the back of that.
Well, it opens the market up again. It did look a kind of cut and dry market before this, but again, you kind of saw Wendigo in the flesh and during the week as well. I was kind of interested to get your thoughts on him. He's now 8-1. We likes a cocktail divan might come into it. They might reroute Romeo Kulu here. We'll cover him later. From what looked like a kind of one-sided market, it's now a very open race.
Yeah, I mean, I was never with him in the first place. I mean, he wasn't miles clear. Let's be honest. I mean, he was kind of like pushing 150, and the rest were 5 or 6 or snapping at his heels. So I think it was way too short in the first instance. But I don't think anyone was expecting a kind of blowout like that. I certainly was. I mean, I still kind of backed him really in the forecast market with Cade Donny 1-2, and he's not got there even for third. I mean, the two I quite like. I mean, Wendigo, I think, probably has limitations, but the test will definitely suit him, and they all do at the moment
Bit of
now.
real
So,
whacker about him, maybe. Like
well,
that's
there is.
that,
It could be a real whacker here. I mean, and the other one's kind of home press.
Yeah.
She reminds me of a little bit as well. Kind of doing the business nicely on the home front, and that air run, okay, he's even the two of his rivals can underperformed anyway. That no chance against him, but it's kind of in regards to that, the Dublin Racing Festival was probably perfect prep. And we know that he could run quite well, even at Kempton, where it was just he was out of his ground and it was too sharp. But we know that Cheltenham will suit more. I think the big Westerner has a massive chance coming here. If she comes here, she looks like a 3 miler to be, like maybe a bit of cutting the ground. Would definitely stay the trip well. Second Albert Bartlett, runner up, and Albert Bartlett have decent enough records in this. Wendigo fourth, fifth, and Albert Bartlett, decent records in this. So they all kind of come forward in different stages. They're the two that I would look at the moment against the field. But yeah, it'd be interesting what they find Final Demand, because I watched it back as well, and I just think that there must have been something annoying him. I would think it's kind of too bad to be true, but there are kind of other theories of like ground being soft, walking the parks, they probably want it quicker. The records kind of plateauing out a little bit as well. There is that argument to it, and maybe gives credence of the concern for him initially, even before then, was the Cheltenham Hill. But yeah, his jumping's gone massively backwards, and the way he was, as you say, corkscrew in the air suggests something to me physical, because you can't regress that badly from where he was there. To me, so yeah, I kind of hope they do find something.
We'll move into the Tattersalls and Novices Hurdle. Really good finish, talk the talk, won, beating Ballyfad and King Rascal Grey. The kind of right three horses came to the floor. Talk the talk's now 5-1 for the Supreme. Ballyfad and King Rascal Grey, I would imagine, are probably going to maybe go up in trap. I would actually maybe throw a theory that Talk the Talk would benefit going up in trap, but they seem to be going Supreme. Very interesting race in terms of Supreme and possibly Turners. What have we learned?
Talk the talk's comfortably the best of them, I think. And he was in figures coming into it, but they could have ridden him cold in the ground. He drifted because of the ground, thought they might not like it. Just about handled it, and his class has come from the back to win from a really steadily run race to beat two that are just probably be done for a bit of toe on the line, that are probably future stayers. I think King Rascal Grey, out a lot of them, would make the best chaser. I think he'd be a lovely chaser. I think this is kind of a bit of a bonus for him, really. You'd think that he'd probably take his chance in the Turners. Not sure he's going to be good enough to win that either. But he'd be in there in a really open year. Because I mean, to me, it's mid 130s, high 130s stuff at the moment. The Turners, it's completely up for anyone's grabs. Ballyfad, they seem to be committing Supreme with him.
Okay.
They've got him and El Kairos, I think, for that.
What do you make El Kairos as well? I was going to ask you that around about this time as well.
Well, we've learnt nothing, haven't we? He's won a maiden and that's it. We know that he took a massive chance at the last as well. So you don't really know what you're going to get from the last to the line with him. And the hill, you can see him kind of hanging about. You can actually see him being a bit of a problem for others. But the Bridal Merchant, and imagine he'd try and come fast and late. Ballyfad, I think that's why they want to run. I think he's kind of the total contrast of him. It's kind of more of a kind of old-fashioned kind of grinder up with the speed, with the tempo. And I thought he'd won in the line. I mean, I think everyone did.
I thought he did.
The photo, apparently everyone in the crowd thought that Ballyfad held on, and Talk the Talk had eventually won. But I mean, a lot was against him, and he still won. And I think that really shows a lot of his class. Can he beat Old Park Stanish Supreme? I don't think so. I think the Henderson horse is comfortably better than all of these.
Okay.
And I expect him to win the Supreme, really.
I think, again, you can get 2-1 Old Park Star, Talk the Talk, 5-1. I thought Talk the Talk jumped very well. Again, that was a concern coming in. He jumped well. I thought he was too far back, and I thought he's just going to not going to have enough time to get here. got there in the end. Ballyfad, I thought jumped a bit right, but again, first thought was going up and trip. Again, you can understand. I think if they're going supreme, it must give confidence to Skylight Hustle that they're kind of
Yeah,
sticking with
and
that.
his form's tied in nicely with Talk the Talk, isn't it? Really, for he fell, but in Skylight Hustle won. But Skylight Hustle was really strong at the line,
Yeah.
and I think they're probably keen to split them up, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the El Kairos
Well,
factor, who's still their default number one, so he's definitely a good supporting act. You could actually argue that Ballyfad definitely is the best form, Grade 1 company, so that you could argue there's a choice for Jack Kennedy to make there.
mm-hmm.
And they're both different types, an end-to-end Supreme where you need Stam at the line, that will definitely suit the likes of Ballyfad, but El Kairos does have that. But I think he's got quite a lot of speed, and you're just thinking that inexperience will catch him out, pitching into a Grade 1 here, even though he's got that kind of form from the bumper that suggests he's capable of it. But, it's going to be a really kind of hustle and bustle, strongly run Supreme from start to finish, and I just think that will suit the favourite down to the ground. He can buck out, be handy, just cut in behind, and I can see him doing an Altion, bounding up the hill and smashing them, to be honest. He's comfortably the best novice we've seen all season, and there was nothing to me that suggested in the DRF that changed that. Even though Talk to Talk, very good educational ride, but he's won ultimately in a photo finish against two horses that look like, well, the third definitely looks like a staying chaser down the line. The second, I think, is okay, but I don't think he's much better than that. And what's his jumping going to be like in quicker ground and a sharper track? We saw it the last eight Christmas where he bungled his way around and came a crop at the last, and it's testament to his ability to get around. But under pressure, you could see him in a more strongly run race, more pressure in his jumping. You could see him make a mistake and go out of it. So I think maybe that's why there's kind of this Turner's theory about him. It's kind of like that, it's a longer trip, but actually they'll go a bit slow, and it's actually test your speed better rather than the Supreme, the shorter trip, because it's just so frenetic from start to finish. But so I can see the logic in it. Connections just seem very hell-bent going Supreme, so I don't see that changing. But yeah, I think Old Park Star's the one really in that division, and I think there was enough shown in that DRF that I think that they will come maybe for the Irish horses a little bit, but I think they've got a lot of work to do to beat Old Park Star, definitely. The also one that I'd give a mention to is the Reverend, because I thought he was travelling almost just as well as Talk the Talk on the outside, and he almost had enough horse to kind of pen him in. And didn't quite clip heels. He just kind of stumbled going round, and I definitely thought he had a chance of being in the shake up there, and he would improve for better ground. So I think if you want one at a big price, I definitely think he's of interest. He's a fascinating horse to me.
Mm-hmm.
He won in debut at Cork. Obviously this kind of high class flat. I rated horse. He jumped fine as well in the inner, and probably didn't get a clean sight of things. It's just a kind of cruel lesson in race riding for Harry Coblin in graded races in Ireland. What happened was quite unfortunate, but at worst, I think he would have been fourth, and he's like 33-40 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no way he should be that. To me, we've got no idea how good this guy could be. And I think he could be pretty useful. It's a stretch to win it, but I can definitely see him hitting the frame and on one that's kind of particularly in a bit better ground, because I think his jumping held up fine there. Just what happened was pretty unfortunate. It's wide and it just seemed pretty innocuous. Probably wasn't going quite as well as eventual winner, but I definitely think he was mixing it with him for a long way out. So we would never know. But he's definitely a completely interesting kind of sleeper there. So he's one where you could get non-runner, no bet markets where you think I can see him running quite well. He also has the Turner's auction, which I could see him maybe ending up there as well, because he did stay kind of a mile 4, mile 6 quite well in the flat, and the owner Tony Bloom would just be interested in Cheltenham really.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been a kind of educational ride to see where we're at and where we'd go. So definitely going to go for one of them, I think. I don't think Willie Mullins is going to be the type where, we'll just go in Cheltenham, we can get a maiden on the Monday or something before that, and that I think he'll be flung in the deep end. I think he'd cope with it. So out the outsiders, definitely be with him. But I think Old Park Star is the one to beat, and I think he's even more the one to beat after that. To be honest.
Yeah, and I think there's maybe another Willie Mullins horse in this that we'll maybe cover later on. We'll get into the Dublin Chase. Majborough finally put it all together. He won this quite impressively by 19 lengths, beating Marine Nationale. 7-4 now for the Champion Chase. Marine Nationale 2-1. Before we get into Majborough, Marine Nationale, is it just you just assuming he'll improve in better ground, or was it madness to run him here?
I mean, they wanted to support the race, didn't they, Barry Connell? I mean, the only thing I got right all weekend. I mean, it's kind of amazing when off favourite, really. I mean,
I was stunned doing off favourite.
Soft they can handle. Heavy, no. I mean, no, that's not his bag. But, boxed on okay for second. He'll be peaking around March, hoping for good ground. But the thing is, though, I mean, but this is why you can't really go in it yet, and you've got to see where the ground is. Like, get better. There's this assumption that we'll definitely get better ground.
There's been a lot of rain. It's not certain.
The 5 of the last 6 has started in softer wash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cheltenham festivals. So there's absolutely no guarantee that we're just going to get natural spring ground for him. So yeah, I mean, he ran all right, but this was all about the winner. Was
it just cheap pieces that helped him, or was it just the conditions were in his favour, or was it just the headgear just made a massive difference?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of ploughed into him at 8-11, 10-11, and then he makes the odd mistake and everyone knocks him thinking that he's rubbish. He's not as if he's like getting beat by miles in these races beforehand. I mean, that'd be pretty insistent. Once he gets it right, he can put a monstrous performance. That's what he did, and this was undisputably the highlight of the weekend for me.
Yeah,
clean round, lovely horse, one that a lot of people believe in, that's got enormous potential, and we're waiting to see this big bona fide 170 plus performance. And this weekend we got it, and because they've stopped messing around, he wants to go forward, let him bowl along, bit of headgear for concentration, lovely bit of soft ground, Leopardstown galloping track, and just pound them into submission. And that's what he did. And see when he meets the fence right, he meets it lovely.
174 he's been given. Was that kind of what you would give him for that?
Yeah, I gave him 171. He's definitely bang up there. I mean, time form got like at 179. I mean,
yeah.
he is by miles, the best horse in training apparently for them. I think there'll be another runner this weekend that will definitely push him for that. But I mean, this was just a brilliant performance. But you've got to keep in mind, Cheltenham's going to be a different ball game. It's a furlong less, probably, almost certainly will be faster ground, and compared to that, the fences will come quicker, undulating track. We saw what happened the last 2 in the Arkle. That could happen again to him. And we've had much bigger, stronger, fancier, more clear hot pots in the Champion Chase than this lose. So I'd be mindful of that, and that was a big performance. We've got to go and back that up again. He's young enough and get the scope enough to do that. And if he does do it, he's going to beat them by at least 10 again. But it's a different assignment, and you have to remember that if you're mindful of rowing in, because 2-1 really on that day was a bit of a gift. He did everything in his favour, and he duly executed. That happening again is going to be difficult. I think dominating quicker ground is going to be harder. The track is obviously going to be much sharper, and fences will probably come at you much quicker as well. So I think that's when you definitively get the headgear working. But he definitely helped him because he was much straighter, much more focused, and got in a lovely rhythm. And he looked the winner from about 2 fences in. Really,
yeah.
Some people I think would imagine going, is there going to be a mistake here from nowhere? And there wasn't. There was one kind of slight nod at the back of the third last. That was about it. Brilliant, and I do think a touch of soft ground is important to him as well. I think that helps him. But no, he's been threatening that there. I've been a believer of him, not necessarily for a Champion Chase. I think he could go out and do that in the Ryanair. pound them. I think he would love that, at this stage of his career. But they've got to go that way now. They're always committing that way, and yeah, they've finally he's finally been able to produce. So one for the believers.
Yeah,
Thankfully.
I was really happy with that. Again, I thought it was. I thought this was the kind of last chance saloon. I'm not. Again, I kind of agree with you in terms of you can't automatically just go right. He's won that. He's going to win the champion chase. You've mentioned about this race is just a horrific
Yeah,
race
it's
to.
never copy and paste, is it?
Nah,
From
it's
the
never.
thing, it is different, but it definitely gives you a lot of encouragement they would handle
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Again, it's a very fascinating story going to Cheltenham whether they can do it again. But that's one of the races we'll probably wait till the day. Irish champion hurdle, brighter days ahead. Beat Lossiemouth. Brighter days ahead, 2-1 now for the champion hurdle. Lossiemouth is far stronger now for the mares. Overall assessment here. What do we kind of think? But starting with brighter days ahead, I think she's just bounced to improve for the run. And would you back her for a champion hurdle? No.
Look at the champion hurdle market, isn't it? It's the worst champion hurdle we've ever seen. Let's be honest. But on the flip side of it, it makes an absolutely fascinating betting puzzle.
That is, yeah.
I mean that's the beauty of the game. You can say that's a dreadful race, yeah, but it's a proper betting race now. I mean, if you have an opinion, if you get that right, I think you'd be pretty proud of yourself.
So I was going to ask this. So 2 years ago, basically they've said the reason she didn't win the Mares Novice is because Jack Kennedy followed Paul Townend and it allowed Golden Ace to sneak in. They've said last year, and we haven't heard this until Sunday or whenever it was, that she had a wee bit of an issue with her knee that they didn't know about, and that stopped her going chasing. And then they fixed that, and they think now that she's going to go champion hurdle. Do you buy into that? Like, is that the only? Do you think it's just
there's definitely some credence in it, but there's also a lot of credence that she doesn't really like the place as well. I mean, it's a bit of give and take. Like the first day, Jade DeGrugy and Brighter Days Ahead, the jockeys were kind of looking at each other and they kind of forgot about Golden Ace, and Golden Ace went and won. They went far too slow, and they were kind of too busy looking at each other, and Golden Ace just really mugged them quite comfortably as well. They're far too slow to react to that. The last day she was never travelling a yard. They knew that pretty quickly. Gordon Elliott came out today and said that there was actually a knee problem there at Champion Hurdle Day and didn't find it till after Punchestown. So that was ailing her going into Cheltenham probably. This race is all about who do you trust the most, I would say. Would you trust the New Line the most, trying to kind of keep up with 2 mile pace and has enough potential in it? Would you trust Brighter Days Ahead to actually act around Cheltenham? Would you trust Constitution Hill to jump? Would you trust
Lossiemouth in the bin, not going to Champion Hurdle now?
Doesn't look like it, does it?
No.
But I mean, Richie's kind of kept it open, and you might as well. But I mean, again, Lossiemouth, where you trust are kind of going back down trip a little bit, and Golden Ace, would you trust? Do you have not enough trust in other horses that are probably a bit better than her on her day, and do you trust that her kind of 150 performance is just going to be enough to go and win this again? And you might take a flying like a Pony Ross shaped all right with a view to this, maybe an improved performance, but it might not be enough. But
Anzadam,
I think Anzadam was the disappointment if it wasn't. I mean, he's maybe not quite up to it yet, and maybe needs another year.
Top weight in a county hurdle? No
chance. No, I mean, I think he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, really. He disappointed me. He didn't pick up. There's kind of a point where you're thinking, like, coming down the hill, you're thinking, yeah, you could play a hand here, and they just get readily left behind. And readily left behind by even Lossiemouth, who, again, a bit like Final Demand, but not to that degree. You're never happy at all. I was never think. I mean, it was like role reversal. Brighter Days Ahead in the far better position than at Christmas, where you can get first run, travelling much more comfortably, never going to get there. It's a testament to a kind of gutsy attitude that she kind of threatened momentarily and then was just comfortably held again. I think she's slightly off it. I think maybe that specialist heavy ground didn't suit her to the best effect. And as the owner kind of alluded to, maybe Leopardstown's just not what she really likes. She kind of fell here in that race last year. Her better performances have largely been elsewhere, largely Cheltenham. Aintree, I think she's been better at, in Punchestown. I'm just not quite sure that she kind of is entirely in love with the track as well. And Bright Days Ahead's two best performances by a long way have now been at Leopardstown. So, in fact, it's a mare, bit like kind of Calaconte's. It's like, does she just kind of taper off a little bit into the spring anyway? We kind of saw that when they went with, she won a mare's hurdle, but Apple's Jade kind of just tapered off and then in season a lot down there, and it was just difficult to get right. And just wonder if you're ever really going to get a clear run with this horse going into spring. So it's definitely a market where you can just wait. Like if they all turn up and they all run to form, I think at Cheltenham, I think Lossiemouth could turn that over with Brighter Days Ahead near the two mares because the £7 allowance will swing it outside kind of the New Lions control, and maybe even Golden East isn't actually that far off them as well. I think about it. I mean, she'd be the safe each way play, wouldn't she? At eights, just think, well, run the top three. Can you trust three of these up the top of the market to hit the frame? So, yeah, it's definitely a modelling picture, and thank goodness we've got 5 weeks to kind of figure it out. That's for sure. But it was a really good performance today, Bright Days Ahead, and a reminder of her ability. It wasn't quite as good as her devastating performance last Christmas, but it's pretty close, and showed that she can handle that conditions really well. And after missing a lot of work in the build up to this, she's Gordon Elliott, regardless of what they do at Cheltenham, really done really well to get her back to this level of form. He's having a splendid season, Gordon Elliott. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Mullins dips, might not have novices, stuff like that. I mean, it's a testament to kind of Gordon Elliott really to get back to a kind of really competitive level and to throw it in the gauntlet, because I think everyone's just expecting as the season goes on that all these Willie Mullins horses will just overtake his, but he's got a seriously good crop across the board this year, and the way he's kind of reinvented himself again, built up again from the back, it's got to be admired. He says he's changed a lot of things, and he's definitely beginning to reap the rewards now.
Yeah, just on you're kind of mentioning Gordon Elliott, like just Mark Wall's got a lot of attention, and rightly so for some of his performances. I thought Jack Kennedy in a couple was sublime as well. Like I thought, just he was him and Mark Wall.
There was a lot of good riding there, specifically bad ground. I mean, there was a lot of kind of sensible pace, in that. The handicaps are a bit different. There was a couple of races, the Irish Arkle, for instance, it was run quite speedily, but I mean, it was sensible, good quality stuff going all round. So I do think the level of overall, generally, the level of Irish jockeyship is definitely far superior to what we've got here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, just in terms of kind of Sunday, any eye catchers, maybe in the handicaps or the bumper? Obviously, the kind of main story was the bumper, the jockey in second, maybe pulling up a bit too soon. A lot's been made about the 50-yard line. Would you make of that? I think that was just an accident.
He's just made a mistake. I think he's got 14 days, and I think he could probably just leave it there. I mean, the owner kind of said that these things happen. He'd even cover the kind of fine. So, yeah, it's pretty galling to watch. But and you probably don't need a 50-yard to the post sign anyway, do you? Really, get a furlong, half furlong winning post. I think that's all you probably need. So, yeah. But the race itself was rubbish. The mare's handicap, I don't think there was much delving in that. I thought that was pretty weak renewal. Cousin Kate won it quite nicely, but I don't think she'd really be a kind of Cheltenham player. Back me or sack me, won that. Kicking myself, last off the shortlist. Talked about this horse at the start of the season, October, thinking that is a proper National Hunt chase program. I mean, it's as if Corbett's Cross has been reanimated here. I mean, this is exactly is. He's got a massive chance going up and trip. Massive chance. He's only got £8 for that, which I think was pretty generous. Behind some couple of good GP horses, the fourth D Capo is what he is. He's solid. The fifth as well, Pick Rock, ran well. Couldn't get home on the ground. He tanked through it. Again, probably a play on the plate. Waterford Whispers is definitely a race in him now that he's going to bounce
Rock
back.
Shaped pretty well. Just
absolutely.
Maybe just
didn't get home. It was ridden really handily from the front, and coming back a little bit. And he's had a sighter already at Cheltenham. He could be a plate kind of horse. So, Atlantic I thought ran pretty well for a long way. So I thought there was a lot of eye catchers in that. It was the other race, 352, Bones and Fire winning. Now, I know Zillow fell at third last year.
Yes, I was going to bring that up later.
The collateral form with Bones and Fire makes Zillow an incredibly well handicapped horse because beat him 2 starts ago, and he's won twice since. He's now up to 148. And Zillow 134, and Zillow's beaten him, giving him weight 2 times ago. So I don't think Zillow's had things his own way since then. He was Leopardstown was too far last time, and he's actually kind of fell on landing. He jumped the horse fight, jumped the hurdle fine, but fell at the third. That might be no bad thing. It avoids getting a hard race. He was drifting anyway, 33 to 1, so if no chance. So, but Bones and Fire, he stuffed I started a joke, which was kind of one of the big guns of the meeting. Really, Mercia shaped nicely. Hill Neighbour shaped quite nicely. Bunting as well, probably shaped quite nicely. Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't give up on Zillow either. It's definitely not his day, and things go wrong. So you'd imagine a lot of these will just reoppose in the county on differing terms.
Yeah. Let's move into Monday. We've got Dr. Steinberg winning the Nathaniel Lacey, winning it by 8 lengths now, 5-2 for the Albert Bartlett. If you are thinking about him for a turners, he's 13-2 in places. What do we make of this? He was very keen, but it's only Willie Mullins horses that can be that keen all the way through a race and win by 8 lengths.
Yeah, good horse wins terrible race. I'm not having this at all. This Dr. Steinberg. I mean, I don't think he'll win either race at Cheltenham, personally.
I'd rather go Bartlett than Turners.
I think he'll join the kind of list of looks good in this Nathaniel Lacey and find a way to get beat. I mean, he was in the box all along. He'd be called the winner a long, long way. Definitely. And what he did from the second last of the line was pretty good. But these horses in behind have got no business of being in a Grade 1. No business whatsoever. Kazansky is a 4 mile podder. He had no form coming into this, picked by Jack Kennedy and get back to 41. Lovely Tender as a summer horse.
Yeah.
I mean, that would barely hit 130. Riskaway, the one I eventually backed money, and it actually did go well from the front, but didn't stay. The rest were deplorable.
Santos Sosbeer was the one I backed, very disappointing. Tackle Tommy Woo was 7-1, we're off 40s.
These horses backed out of it after 4 out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so bad in behind it's beyond belief.
It was poor, yeah.
I mean, and this horse is what, 5-2 from Albert Bartlett?
5-2, yeah.
Other back 10 against him in the field.
Yeah, it's not 5-2 in Albert Bartlett.
He sets a standard, and there's form in behind that's been frank, right? And the devil knows the one that's obvious, but they went far too fast in that Doncaster race, and he's come and picked the pieces up. So he's not really had to improve there to win that. And Dr. Steinberg hasn't really had to improve that to win here. He does set a standard, but it's nowhere near 140 stuff. It's high 130s at best. And I think he's just now he's a decent clubhouse leader in what is a very poor division at the moment. The Turners and this, it's wide open. I'd be very disappointed if he won like that at Cheltenham. Very disappointed. I really don't think there's. He keeps kind of steadily improving to his credit. But he's even surprised in the Mullins camp. He was nowhere near the higher upper echelons in the Mullins camp pre-season.
Well, he was 5th in a maiden in Galway in October. No, August. Sorry, he was 5th in a bumper in August at Galway, which.
Then came out and beat Frankie John, and he can't dance quite well at Galway after. He's been on the go since October as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came out at Navan and won that race. Beating the devil, was fine, but he wasn't even favourite for that. The Gordon Elliott horse dramatically underperformed for that. And the devil came out on Doncaster where everything went right for him. Where will you go with him? I think they're leaning Bartlett anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, I imagine so, yeah.
I think that's where they go, but I think horses like I'll sort that and Sortudo would beat him. I really do. I thought that was a bad race he won. He's not out of it because he's there. He's there in the kind of mid-130s bracket, but and he keeps on steadily improving. And maybe you don't know kind of what's there.
Well, reading Tommy Wrong won the Laws and Ace, which was arguably a deeper race, and went off 2-1 for an Albert Bartlett and get stuffed. I just don't. I wouldn't be backing a 5-2 shot on Albert Bartlett ever.
No, I mean, I don't really envisage me backing him at all for anything.
Nah.
To be honest, and he's weak enough beforehand, but maybe a bit like talk to talk, where on raw figures, he'd so much. He did so much hand that it was maybe an obvious kind of favourite, really. But you were kind of looking at something, would something improve enough to pass him? The answer here was resoundingly no. But I mean, I do think Gordon Elliot's got 3 or 4 better horses than Kazansky for this.
I would imagine so, yeah.
I really do. And Willie Mullins just don't wax lyrical about him. I mean, if you gave me the choice of backing that or like Espresso Milan, New Proof, all these, I would definitely have each way darts against him. I think it's there to be gunned down. And the way he's keen, keen going up the hill. I mean, and quicker ground would be a bit of an unknown as well. And going up the hill, I mean, if he's that fresh, he might not get home. So in the turners, he might be outspeeded, a bit of class, and what would be your 2 milers coming in to 2.5 miles. I think a lot of them would be fancying their chances against him. Him kind of slightly dropping back, I think he could struggle, but you can see why they like him. Visually, you'd think, wow, that's excellent. But I mean, I thought there was nothing in behind, and it kind of went, well, so what?
The horse that's got IGP of class, yeah, is one.
He doesn't excite me whatsoever.
Nah, I don't think. I'm getting of far better horses than have won this and not won at Cheltenham, and I think
that's the nature of the division, though, isn't it? As well,
yeah.
You've got to take that into account. Well, there's just nothing that's really kind of fully developed and put his hand in. He has, but I don't find him a kind of inspiring champion for seeing novices.
Right. Well, we'll go into the juvenile division. Narciso Haas won the Gannon City Recovery and Recycling Services Juvenile Hurdle at even money. Beat Selma Davari, who shaped quite well. Monge 2 and 3rd. Right, kind of 3 horses came to the floor here. Narciso Haas is round about 6-4. Banking material, you think?
I think he's as close as he gets to it, really, doesn't he?
He looks polished, doesn't he?
He's very forward, very uncomplicated. He did this with minimal fuss. I don't think potential quicker ground will be a problem to him.
Nah, I don't think so.
Certainly from the last day, he was fine on reasonable ground. And yeah, I mean, the second, I think Selma Davari's ran really, really well and could get closer with a bit more experience at Cheltenham, but would do really well to turn it round, because I do think that this horse still has more to offer. I think he could dig out a lot more if he needed to. And Mange 2's probably ran similar level to what he did the first time. He's just improved passer. I think it's kind of difficult for mares like that start season to keep their form. So, but even still, he's probably an each way player. You wouldn't be surprised if they were the 1, 2, 3 in the triumph. Really,
yeah. I think these are the best kind of 3 novices we've seen so far.
Proactive, haven't you?
Proactive, and again, we'll maybe see maybe another couple in the next couple of weeks in England. I know that we've got the Adonis, but
I think Manila Study's the best in Britain. Disappointed didn't go Scottish Triumph for some reason. They skipped it. I think that was a gut feeling. He's already had 3 runs, I suppose, so they maybe didn't. But because the yard was still in reasonable nick there. So yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of the each way British contender in it. But I think do pretty well to beat this fella. I think he's kind of reasonably forward, and after flagging him up before he ever ran, I've never seen him before. He was 16-20s. That was still too short at the time. Now he's at 64. You think, he must regret that. Not particularly.
Nah. And again,
taking 16-20 to 1 in a horse I've never seen before.
Yeah, and again, there's not a lot of kind of ones that have showed their hand that you think could challenge him.
It's not really been that fully developed. You'd think that maybe there's the list of contenders against him is thin on the ground, and now that they need a run, so it's not as if Willie Mullins can parachute horses that have had no run whatsoever. So there's still a couple of weeks left for juveniles to kind of force their way into the picture a little bit. So that's another thing maybe to be slightly mindful of when Narciso has. But yeah, he's holding all the aces and then some. And I think he's probably pretty hard to beat. And yeah, I think he's probably going to be in a lot of kind of festival multis at this stage, and you can see why.
Well, I was going to bring this up. Like again, like we were coming into last year round about now thinking, oh, there's about 6 or 7 short price favourites. What do we do here? He's the only one. Like again, we'll touch on the Arkle division and we might get a clue this weekend in terms of where that shapes up. But like, there's not many. Every kind of big race looks fairly open, and it's nice.
Definitely an open company. Well, exactly. I mean, you could kind of question the quality of it for sure, but I mean, it presents a different kind of betting meeting, which is good, and that's the plus side of these things. I think yeah, Champion Hurdle's pretty poor, but it's an interesting betting. There's nothing obvious screaming. I mean, if you don't like, if you're not a particular big Dr. Steiner fan, there's nothing obvious in the kind of Albert Bartlett. The tunnel seems absolutely wide open. I'd be interested to see how many Supreme types defect there, and vice versa. And the Supreme, even though probably firmly in the old Parks R camp, they're definitely, you don't know how good El Kairos can possibly be. Talk the Talk is definitely a very smart horse. Willie Mullins will have one or two in it without a doubt, that can improve and get involved. And yeah, I mean, and that Supreme definitely looks the red hottest of the novices. So, and there's a lot in the Arkle, as you say, muddy picture. Browns is obviously one now that's definitely going to, it's wide open, and the Steels isn't that bad either. So yeah, and now the Raya could be in flux as well now. So I mean, the Gold Cup's is as open as it's ever been. So yeah, there's a lot of options, and that's why I think it's kind of good. You see kind of a busy weekend like that where it's all changed, and you get no bet. It's probably good to kind of, for a lot of people, to kind of maybe take a step back and try and get a handle on things a little bit better,
Well,
and then really kind of proceed forward.
Wee bit of breaking news: if you have back live Conte for the county hurdle, tell to slip up because he will miss the rest of the season after suffering a tendon sprain per Dan Skelton Racing. So if you've got live Conte in your list, get him off it.
Well, he shouldn't have been on it for him in the first place because he's far too slow for a county hurdle. But hopefully he recovers. Because he's definitely got a promising future ahead. More over fences, I think. But yeah, I think he's a nice novice chaser for next season.
Well, Irish Arkle, Romeo Coolio beat Cargeese. Fascinating race. Didn't seem so at the start. I thought 2 out, Cargeese was going to win this by quite a comfortable length. Romeo Coolio pulled it back, and then Cargeese nearly got him in the line. So quite a dramatic race. Again, it kind of was a 2-runner race. Down Mexico, he was just there for a run. Turned out to be more fascinating than we thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it would be, and it was the only race in the DRF I had no bet in because I thought it would be potentially that close. Yeah, I wasn't surprised at that. I mean, I thought Cheltenham would try and make it in Kyrgyz, but Romeo Coolio would definitely have to try and keep her honest, so he wasn't done for speed. And Kyrgyz, in the main, outjumped him, particularly 3-2-1 out, where she was taking half a length, 3/4 of a length out of him regularly, and he's worked really hard to get back on top, and Kyrgyz is tired from the back of the last. But then, in the effort to get to Kyrgyz and look like they win comfortably, Romeo Coolio eventually gets tired. Maybe a bit of idleness as well, but he was definitely tiring as well. I mean, the finishing speed's below 90%. And there was no hiding place there. It was a really tough race. It was a battle of attrition, and Romeo Coolio again hung on grimly. He got up grimly at Christmas, and he's hung on grimly there, and he's won 2 Grade 1s as a result of it. So people knock him, and I think people just knock him in view to Cheltenham because there's probably no race for him, really, ideally.
I think there's any chance it goes Brown Advisory. I just think it's just now clear it goes
like
Apple.
No, I mean, it doesn't look like it. I think he's kind of booked for the Arkle, really, and I think there's a reluctance to go straight up to 3 miles with him, because I think if they did that, they would go 2 mile 5 and maybe arguably would have won that race given the wee final demand bombed out. But I think if they were going to a view to going 3 miles, you'd take in 2 mile 5 there and then go 3. I don't think they go up straight from 2 to 3, really. Although you will get it in time, but no, I think this is what they're going to do at the end of the season, and maybe I think he's had 4 runs now this season. And the last 2 pretty hard ones. I'm not keen on him in Cheltenham.
Well, I was going to say this. I think because of the luck the trainers had with kind of the next big thing, the likes of Mighty Potter, Three Stripe Life, Ginto, I think they will take it carefully in his novice campaign. I know they've run him a lot. They will go softly, 2 miles, and then we'll go right John Durkin, and then we'll try and get him integrated into 3 miles that way. I don't think they'll go 3 miles until
That's what I
he's
think.
in open company. Yeah.
Open company, but the thing is, the trainer, if the trainer had his way, he'd go Fairy House, wouldn't he?
Yes,
I mean,
he wouldn't go to
skip
Cheltenham.
altogether, but I mean, the owners are British based and they want to go Cheltenham. So again, I think that's a bit of a red flag for backing him. Look, on figures, he's done as much, maybe even more than Lalamba for me. I mean, so he's going to 153. I think I've got Lalamba 153 and Kopek de Boer 147. So I mean, he's definitely entitled to go there with a leading chance. Just worry that he's had 2 really hard races now. He's been on the go for a long time, and it's just not quite as suitable for him at Cheltenham. I know Stayers can win them anyway, so I mean, you could do a Django Bay and come through and win. So I wouldn't you can't rule out a horse of that quality there, but it's just not all naturally going to go his own way for the festival. They could try going up a trip at the end of the season if they felt obliged, like something like Punchestown, where he would be able to deal with it if they wanted to kind of try that. And he would definitely get it. He's definitely a superb novice chaser. But it's just, is there anything really properly for him now for Cheltenham after that kind of build up? And that really was a hard race. That was a grueler. And Cargis as well. I mean, she ran a blinder, but she'd have to overcome that as well. And I think that would be difficult for her. So, yeah. You can see why Nicky Henderson doesn't run them in heavy ground and big races before the build-up, because I think the lamb in his box would maybe kind of be quite happy with that. And the thing is, you've got him coming up on Saturday, and he might not run because nobody's really heavy. So they might reroute him to Warwick or not do it at all. So we'll see what happens there. And Kopek de Boer's the big one who didn't make it late.
Would you, again, like it's been done, one run over fences, getting into an Arkle, would that worry you, like, experience-wise?
Not as much as missing this. I mean, Western Warhorse did it in Well Chief. It wouldn't be natural, but it can be done. He's definitely good enough to overcome it. The thing is, you definitely want another run for experience, particularly in graded company, because he is kind of brave, brash, and bold, bit like El Fabiolo. Really, he kind of just charges into things. Are you going to get away with it? Maybe not. And again, it's always that second last that comes to your mind at Cheltenham where it could catch you out, and it could catch him out if he's too brave and too bold. But the trainer seems pretty comfortable just going there fresh, because it seemed to me if it was your normal kind of good to soft ground, he would have run him. The owners seem to be in that camp. I don't think the owners are dishonest people that are putting punters away in that regard, and I think they're kind of they communicate pretty well, I think, on Twitter. Be sometimes too raw and too passionately for some, but they're definitely enjoying the thrill of the ride, and they're not going to disobey Willie Mullins for just to get a run in here in the Irish Arkle. It's disappointing, but you've got to do what's best for the horse. I mean, you come back later on, the owner was kind of screaming about Spindlebury. And the trainer's been proved absolutely correct there, saying that no, it's a mare's chase, not a Gold Cup horse. And I think that's definitive proof there. So rushing him back and then having a race like that, he could have triggered that setback again, and he's out for the season. So I think that's just the way it's been played. And he was pushed out quite quickly, and then he was going to clip back in. So he's just one that you have to monitor, really, and see what the Vise are. But the Vise are generally good going in there. I just think on that heavy ground, I think they decided against it, and it might be a sensible swerve, despite the kind of obvious drawback if you're only going to go in there with one run.
Well, let's get into the final Grade 1, the Irish Gold Cup. Fact to File won at 92 for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins had the first 3, Gaelic Warrior in second, and Gallop and Deschamps third. Start with the winner. Couldn't see Fact to File getting this, and boys proved me wrong, and he's only entered in the Ryanair, but I think if you're JP, you have to think about the Gold Cup.
And I know the way you're thinking, supplement again, isn't it?
Has to be, yeah.
A different way. Yeah, 25 grand to supplement, and he will be, I'd imagine. I think he'll now have to go here. Yeah, he's bounced back. I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing. You know, he'll rule out Kempton, put a line through Kempton, which he could do because he's never enjoying it, never travelling it. He could bounce back and win this, and he did. You know, he was 8-1 before it was called off, and he get well backed. But he was very strong in the machine.
Yeah,
very strong. Gaelic Warrior was usually strong as well. Galopin Deschamps was fairly steady. But yeah, I mean, he was cruising, tanking in behind Galopin Deschamps and won this really impressively, a bit like his Ryanair romp, really. And that was another kind of reminder of how good he can be when in a rhythm.
and that's a career best. I think that's better than his Ryanair run.
It was similar. I think it was a similar 170, 173 kind of thing. He's a 9-year-old and he's always been touted as a future Gold Cup horse, and I think this is his time. Really, he's got to go for it now. At the age of 9, skipping the hurdles stuff is worked wonders for him. He can be a bit inconsistent and go missing sometimes, a bit like Gaelic Warrior can, where you kind of think you're not really sure what you're going to get and you're a bit hesitant about him. But in the extra quarter mile, it's still a question mark.
Yeah,
you know, I think is he going to stay? I don't think it's conclusive, mainly because his finishing speed was like pretty quick. You know, it was 105% in the closing 3 furlongs, which I think in heavy ground over a trip like that would surprise people. They didn't go that hard as I think people went reasonably enough, but it wasn't fast. And then people kind of looked to, Affordale Fury fell at back of TV. Well, he was laying behind, that's why. And Galopin Deschamps kind of came up and ran again, and it was kind of, so Galopin Deschamps back at like 4 or 5 out, was kind of going, go and crank this up. Make this a war. Take them into the trenches. And I don't think he did that.
Nah.
The second was pulling quite hard. Gaelic Warrior was still kind of only beaten kind of 4 and a bit and ran pretty well. But if they went really hard there, I don't think he would have got home as effectively. I was just kind of expecting Galopin Deschamps to kind of, he was travelling well enough within himself to kind of like go on here and try and make this from further out, wind it up and ask the question, but it never really materialised. And he's kind of
Galopin might need headgear. Maybe.
I don't think he needs headgear. I mean, I think Ruby Walsh was adamant about that. Yeah. He's not doing anything wrong.
Nah.
You know, he's not being Larry. He's not being deliberate. He's just not quite. I thought he'd just make that more of a stamina test and a grind. And I understand why they didn't, because they would have left the race, the Gold Cup behind. But, you know, it's an Irish Gold Cup. You know, I mean, it's just a big race. And I think that was the only way he could win it, was be aggressive from the front. And the Mullins camp were quite quick to kind of come out and make excuses for him. At Christmas, maybe he didn't come in forward as much as he did and actually regressed a little bit. It was a quicker turnaround than usual. Plausibly, the more plausible thing is that he's 10 now and he's had too many battles and he's just not quite what he was. But I do think there's a bigger effort in him. So I wouldn't entirely rule him out in a Gold Cup year that's as open as this. But yeah, it was an interesting race to watch, and the winner was, I mean, a mile out. I think you could spot him. You know, he's just when he gets into that lovely rhythm, you know, he's a force to be reckoned with, Factifile, and if he does that in a Gold Cup, I do think a bit of soft ground be important. I think Kempton was kind of fast and he was out of his ground and he was never really travelling. It was a kind of a testament, really, to his ability that he was still on their heels 2 out. And I think that's another underrated factor of Mark Walsh, is when the chance is gone, remember there's another day and you don't need to be too hard on him. And the other day was Irish Gold Cup, and I think a lot of people were surprised he actually even ran. This is well with Gaelic Warrior in the build-up that he did, and both of them kind of reminded how good they are. You know, they're 170 horses, and you need to really step up to be in their level when they're on their A game. And a bit like they did in the John Durkin, where they toughed it out. You know, again, with another really good high-class race here, the third of the season, they've gone out there again and showed no ill effects. Well, Galopin Deschamps, the Savile chase form didn't work out at all on the day, and he's still kind of boxed on okay for third. There could be a bigger effort in him, but I mean, I guess he's going to get. He was maybe a bit messed up the front by Affordale Fury, but again, though, I don't think they were going that fast. And the
I didn't.
closing
I thought it
section
was going.
suggested they didn't. And
Yeah.
everyone else was kind of thinking, no, that's conclusive proof that he stays. I'm not so sure. I don't think that was a kind of. I think they went sensibly enough. Okay, it was definitely not a crawl, but they definitely went sensible enough for Grade 1. And a lot of them in behind are kind of more Grand National focused, aren't they? Monty Starr ran really well and backed out of it, and he's been dropped a pound by the Irish handicapper because of the distance he's been beat. So, I mean, that Grand National project's firmly alive. So, again, there's a lot of different things to weigh up, and I think if you rewatch it, you'll find different kind of things. But, I mean, even when I was watching it live and there's a Galloping Deschamps back, and I was kind of going 4-5 out and saying, come on here, assert, stretch, try and take a few lengths and make this a proper stamina test. And to me, he never quite did that, and he kind of boxed on okay for third. Maybe he couldn't do it really, but I was kind of expecting a little bit more to kind of make it more of a stamina test than it was. It would have been made it very attritional, probably hard to watch, and a lot of top class horses.
I thought it lived up to the bill. I thought it was a very enjoyable race to watch, even though I back Galloping Deschamps.
Because he did it sensibly. Yeah, the top three are just magnificent racehorses. The fact the Files are one that came up top and pretty conclusively that day. I mean, and now you've got the interesting thing of supplementing. I mean, Gaelic Warrior might go Ryanair now, and you get Fact to File here, and again, and then you've got the kind of you had non-runner, no bet coming in as well, which kind of even further skewed and muddied the picture. And, I mean, initially it was the King George hot form that kind of came to the pot. I mean, I think they've got Jukebox Man and Django Bay at initially joint favourites at 5-1, 11-2. So a bit like Champion Hurdle, but more quality in it. It's kind of take your pick, really, this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll move into like what was any other kind of Gordon Elliott had two winners in the other races with Jacob's Ladder. He won the bumper. He had the 1, 2, 3 in the bumper. Actually, I don't think this was a bumper that will have any Cheltenham clues. And Philip Fenton's horse won the handicap hurdle. Any of these potential Cheltenham clues? Jacob's Ladder, maybe for a Grand Annual or something like that.
Possibly. I mean, he looked like kind of maybe going up and trip potentially. The 225 is really stamina laden. I wouldn't forgive anything for coming up in that. I mean, there was maybe a few kind of Martin Pipe options there. Son of Anarchy being one, Wendrock possibly. County Final was disappointing favourite. Just didn't handle the hustle and bustle of it, but it was proved that he was coughing afterwards post race, so that was definitely a valid excuse. He's definitely worth another chance off that mark. I didn't watch the 405 after Battle Ridgeway broke down, and the bumper I thought was dreadful. So
it was a good race.
The bumper's really open, actually. Really, really open race. The champion bumper usually have a kind of another leading kind of contender there, but it's very kind of messy in the league picture. I think you're going to have lots of different strands of form coming into this, so really hard to kind of glean anything from that.
Right, well, let's get into what's coming up this weekend. We've got racing at Newbury and Warwick on Saturday. We'll start with the Denman Chase, where, again, we mentioned, I think Nicky Henderson was told 112 mils of rain has fallen at Newbury since the Challow meeting, which is incredible. Denman Chase, Horticolor is 11-8, Django Bay 13-8, Long Press 11-4 and 20-1 bar. Horticolor obviously missed the Irish Gold Cup, looks to be coming here. Django Bay, ground could dictate, probably a race I'm just going to leave alone, and we'll get some sort of clue, because Django Bay, we'll certainly get an idea what he's like and what his kind of Gold Cup aspirations are if he does go here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the indication suggests that he might not here now, because he can handle it, but his last 4 runs in the Arkle was good to soft, Aintree good to soft, good ground at Ascot and now good ground at Kempton. Do you want to come here on heavy ground and bump into Haiti Kilor 5 weeks before the Gold Cup? I wouldn't, and that's why Haiti Kilor is now favourite and Django Bay is drifting out. Because if it was normal circumstances, Django Bay would be clear favourite here. Look at the Gold Cup market, for instance. He's 5s and Haiti Kilor's 14s. So yeah, and the Long Press is a good kind of grinder from the front that ran quite well in the Cotswold Chase. It's a very quick turnaround for him. So Horticolor, he can handle conditions in the Irish National run, and could well be a penalty kick for him if Django Bay doesn't turn up, because this is a quick turnaround for the Venetia Williams yard, who haven't ran well all year, really. I mean, other big stars have ran with credit, but it'd be a minor miracle if we won that. And the rest I've got the best part of a stone to fight. Master Tree wouldn't stay with on that ground. Leave of absence is going through the ranks well, but he's got a lot to find in this company, and so does Risk in the ground. So if Django B doesn't run, I think Horticolour will win. And the way it's going, if it's heavy ground, if it keeps raining, then I think he's just going to take him out, and it'll be there for Horticolour to win.
Well, Game Spirit, Chase, Lalambas 7-4, Saints Eagles 3-1, Master Chewy, Liberty Hunter, Steel Alley, and Calico. Again, all depends on if Lalamba turns up. He's probably not going to be 74, and it's probably. I would be very surprised if Lalamba goes here in soft ground.
The prices are saying that he won't. I mean, no bookmaker in the right mind would give 74 away in this horse if they thought he was running. So, I mean, it's the same with Django Bay. I mean, I think it'd be extremely doubtful. I mean, he's shorter for the Arkle than this. I mean, that's fundamentally what it is. I mean, it's ridiculous, and he's not going to run on heavy ground here 5 weeks before an Arkle. It's just not what Ian McKenzie does. They might reroute him to Warwick, which will be easier ground from him. Saint Segal is running really well and probably take advantage of it. He's only £2 officially off the Lamba, but isn't really kind of top class graded operator, and then the back catalogue doesn't suggest so. Liberty Hunter could come here. Master Chewy's entered in this, could come here. So yeah, you can definitely kind of wait and see what's there.
William Hill Hurdle at 320, Let It Rain 11-4, All on You, Unsen La Vie 6-1, Lanesborough 2-20, Hot Fuss is in here at 14. Usually a very competitive handicap. It's a race I've actually got a terrible record in, and I don't see that changing this year.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I quite like the Twiston Davis horse.
Yeah.
Saint La Vie won quite well at Ludlow after bumping into Old Park Star. We're trying to give him weight, £6, and only beat 3 lengths at Kempton. Alex good form now. Twiston Davis's Ballyandy went here, didn't even win it. They like sending a good novice here, and I think off 130, I think he's got a very good chance. So I mean, 6-1, I think is fine. The ground would be maybe a bit of a slight question mark, because he's a pretty good mover, and he's kind of untested away from good to soft, so that's a doubt. But just got to take that into consideration. The other one's Tutti Conti. Nichols is, I know it's top weight, but I think 9-1 about him's not too bad. Soft ground Newbury last day, he won pretty well. Indivar Blue, who's franked that form quite well, won it easily enough, bumped up 8 for that. But he's course and distance, soft ground, I think he'd be fine on it. So the rest, I think, are pretty difficult to fancy. And Serious Challenge could run away with it. I'm not convinced that he's well handicapped. And then that's probably about it. Maybe quite a few of these won't turn up in the end. But yeah, those were the two that I was drawn to instantly.
Warwick, we've kind of mentioned the Kingmaker. Lalamba might go here. If not, Mambo number 5. Steel Alley's also entered here as well. Just a case of, with these, because it's so close to the festival and they're getting the last run, I think wherever Lalamba goes, you would expect him to win, and you hope he doesn't get a hard race. Mambo number 5's interesting here if he doesn't go, because I do think that you've said about this horse quite a lot. There's a very, very progressive horse here.
Yeah, I do enjoy it, and he's 16-21 in the Arkle, and can understand why. I do think it'd be better suit going up and trip, but he's defying all these questions. 2 mile quick ground at Kempton at Christmas, he dealt with it pretty well to win. And again, this is going to require another step up, but he's very capable of it. He's one of the most likeable horses in training, I think. Lalamba 1-2 out to 11-10 here. I think they might just swerve this as well by the looks of it. I mean, I think they might just kind of stay at home. It's just the way that the markets are moving. It just suggests to me that they're not going to chance their arm. But Steel Ally against Mambo number 5, a good contest. Steel Ally, 3 years older, £4, rate £4 superior. Both their forms working out excellently. They're both really good horses. Mambo number 5 probably has a bit more potential. It's his age giveaway. suggest that, but Steel Ally's done really, really well this season, and he might just want a bit further though. It's the same with Mambo number 5, but he might just have a bit more kind of tackle speed. I think it's £2 off him, so I would still be probably in the Mambo number 5 camp. Maybe by the season I will declare. Interesting if he kind of gets that kind of run. I mean, he's in Newbury as well, but I mean, it'd be interesting if he gets a third run because he's a big player on the Jack Richards, but he needs another run. So you'd imagine that he would be taking his chance this week or next week, definitely, to qualify for that.
We've also got 3 o'clock at Warwick, Mares Novices Hurdle Grade 2. Not really got idea on prices, just looking at the kind of overall ratings. Good Girl Kathleen looks to be coming over for Emmett Mullins. He likes a White Noise, a Path to Ronda, Jackie Hobbs. Very open contest, isn't it? Not really nailing my flag down yet.
Yeah, interesting. I'm interested to see how Dream Shadow can get on after seeing her at Ayr, win quite comfortably. He's entitled to do so, 8-15. But I think she's definitely a mare that's going forward, bit defined in raw figures, but pitching her in here is quite interesting. The Skeleton mare looks pretty progressive in Supreme Malinas. Tristan Durrell's already booked for that. I suppose Harry Skeleton will be at Newbury riding Let It Rain, so it'll be a big weekend for them in the kind of prize money front. So yeah, I would definitely not commit to absolutely anything. White Noise is a good horse for the Baileys, so I mean, I would definitely be not committing to anything until seeing final declarations.
Yeah, Sunday at Navan, likely, Honesty Policy's entered in the Boyne Hurdle. Be interesting to see if he goes for that. And then 10 up Novices Chase, Oscar's brother Gold Dancer might have a couple of Brown advisory clues. You'll get, obviously, myself and Callum will have our selections out on Saturday and Sunday. We'll go to Ante-Post picks before we wrap up. We have 1 pick each. Just kind of the picks we've got so far. I have Sertudo, Impose Trois, and my third one is Let It Shine in the Mares Novices Hurdle. You have Copacabana, Willow, and Ben Hur. Who are we adding this week, Callum? Who's your latest selection for the Cheltenham Festival?
Yeah, I'm not really a kind of non-run no bet person, so I'm just going to ignore that. As well as you could, depends how much of a premium you want. You can get your money back. But then we go 33-1 again. Wendrock and the Martin Pipe.
Okay.
Didn't get home in the DRF. So pulled up after 2 out. But half the field didn't. It was just simply too attritional for him. But that was a step up to 3 miles, which was a bit too much too soon. But he was still backed in 8-1. There's been different kind of claimers that have been on him all season. The fact that you need 5 runs to get in here now makes it really hard for a novice to get in. And I think you kind of now need a kind of second season novice that hasn't shown his hand fully. You've got to remember this fella was off top weight in the last year in the Boodles and ran really well in 6th. Probably one of the best horses in it at the weights, apart from maybe the runaway winner. It's highly tried afterwards, didn't quite back it up, but as a result, he's now down to 129 in Ireland, 136 in the Boodles. So he's been given a bit of respite and he'll be learning all the time. But his 5th at Leopardstown at Christmas was a really eye-catching run. And that was the first time he's going to be in that 2.5 mile trip on good to soft ground, and he made nice eye-catching late gains. I think that run last day is eminently forgivable on bad ground, so I'd happily wipe that off. It's a race Cornell that loves to target. He's won it the last twice. Would do better days ahead being the last 2. Really, really graded class horses up in the line. And to be honest, I've had him on the radar for this since the Boodles, really. I do think it's been a very long-term plan. They've drummed in a lot of runs into him. When he was 5th in that race at Christmas, the 4th came out and won that handicap at Leopardstown, heavy ground that he was in. So it is an element of good form there, without a doubt. And he was definitely that catcher to take from it. So, and I think he's on a mark where he'd struggle to get into a Coral Cup anyway. And I think maybe your kind of bigger, more exposed, higher weighted horses would go there anyway. So I think you kind of need a young type, and he's obviously only 5, and it's won by still young horses. I think 2.5 miles is bag. I think like a Martin Pipe, where you hopefully you get the services to Danny Gilligan because he's still got that kind of license, conditional licence. But I mean, he's been ridden by Carl Miller, Will Williamson, all these kind of £5 claimers. So I think that in turn is with a view to maybe running him in this long term. And I think his mark's going to be a really good one. The other one that was an eye catcher for that was Son of Anarchy, but he's second in the market at 12, 14 to 1. And I think he can kind of maybe wait there, in the GP McManus colours. I think he went off the kind of same price as Wendrock did. But I think they both get similar profiles in that regard. And there'll be others to that. But 33s over 14s to me is a no-brainer when I don't think there's much to split them. And he's had a sighter at Cheltenham, albeit in the old course, but it ran really well. In a Boodles, it was traditionally good form off top weight. So he's had a sighter around there. I think the place generally suits him. He's a good traveller. He's got a lot of experience under his belt, and I don't think he's exposed at all. So I think he's got a nice enough profile for it, and he's a nice enough price at 33s each way to take a swing at. So I mean, I'm sticking to my policy of big long range shots, not getting too involved, and definitely have a clearer, more bigger picture on the week. And so, yeah, and there might be others to come down the line, but Wendrock at 33 to 1 each way with Flutter for the Martin Pipe, and I'm happy enough to ignore the. There's a lot of 25s here, no bet. If that's enough of a premium to pay to get your money back, then so be it. But it's not what I kind of like to do. But the only time you kind of consider that is like maybe back Tiahupu's 13 to 8 no bet, he's 7-4. Without that, I mean, you might as well have that kind of cover 5 weeks out. So I mean, it's each to their own in that regard. Really, there's no kind of right or wrong way to do things. But you've got to trust your own way. So 33s for me at Wendrock, Martin Pipe for a yard that can do no wrong in the race, really. Even if they do, when they get beat, they invariably go off kind of like second favourite anyway. So you're kind of hoping that he's the one, and if he's not the one, at least be the top 2 or 3 for the yard, and they'll definitely have a go at it, because I do think there's a good chance that they will.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. He was on my kind of radar as well, and
he's only going to go up 3, or he's only going to go up to 132, 133. He's not going to be as high as his Boodles mark, and I think they've kind of worked back from that, thinking, well, can we get him to kind of similar rating where we could go to a Martin Pipe next season? And Gordon Elliott's the one person that loves that race so far out that he would have mapped that out long enough, and I think he might be the kind of long term one there. So I do think he's in a kind of nice hidden secret mark, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's a good selection. I'm going to go for a Dartmouth Supreme. Now, who you may ask. Now, I'm going to go with Willie Mullins. I thought he got a boost in form this week, and I'm going to go for it 16 to 1, a leader, Dalier. Good runs in France, came here with a high reputation, was beaten in his first run over hurdles in Boxing Day behind Ballyfad. Shaped up pretty well. Again, a lot of Willie Mullins horses have been needing the run and improved. I thought was really, really impressive at Punchestown. Won a maiden hurdle by 8 lengths in heavy ground. I think better ground won't do him any harm at all. I can see a world where Paul Townend is probably on him. I don't see at the moment what else is appealing to me in terms of what Paul Townend could ride. I think if Paul Townend's on board, he's not going to be 16 to 1, and I think people are going to go looking for Willie Mullins darts at this. And I think I'm going to get him in now, because I don't see a world when he's won by 8.5 lengths and jumped pretty well. Ballyfad's frank to form and ran well in a Grade 1 since. I just don't see a world where he's anything less than the 16 to 1 on the day, and I think it's a good chance to get him in, and I think he's a good chance in this. I think it is an open year. He's a good option to get in there.
He's been backed at a lot bigger, hasn't he? I mean, he's 40 to 1 before that, and then a lot of people haven't been dissuaded since his kind of again, it's maybe kind of El Kairos thing where you're stepping up from maiden company straight away into Grade 1. I mean, if I was Paul Townend, he wouldn't have been in my top 3 really as options for this. But I mean, as you say, you could probably split a cigarette paper between what Willie Mullins' runners are.
Yeah.
I would maybe have had Sober in front of him. Probably the Reverend, but I mean, I've got a fascination with that horse. I'll probably put him up next week at 33-40.
Go for it, yeah.
I don't understand why he is. But King Rascal Grey could still go here if it's soft enough, but you'd imagine they want to go up and trip with him. But, he's he's the one that's placed in the Group 1 for them. So, there's not a lot. Mighty Park's a real kind of fascinating one, isn't
Mighty
it?
Park
What
and
will
Fou
they
de
do with
Trois.
him?
Mighty Park and Fou de Trois. But obviously, if
I,
Mighty Park goes here, I don't see JP with much else in this. Should imagine Mark Walsh is on.
Yeah, he might. I mean, I kind of had him down as a tunnel sauce in the back of that Fairy House run, and I would have been pretty conclusive in that opinion. They go here and change it up, but that would be Mark Walsh's ride. So again, you'd be looking to Paul Townend and see where he goes. Less proactive gets rerouted here, the kind of thing. But yeah,
an open year, and again, they don't have the standard. Usually, we know at this point Paul Townend's going to be on this, and it's usually single figures. That's probably 16-1, as I say, each way chance. Willie Mullins throws 6 or 7 darts at these races, even if he doesn't have a vintage year. He could be one of those. And he was obviously fancied as well because he was thrown into the maiden hurdle that Kopek de Boer ran in at Boxing Day the year before. So they clearly had an option. And Willie's horses went right to Christmas. We know that, and we've seen that since.
Absolutely, yeah. I can see it. And the third that day was sent off joint favourite Shoda for the Mayor's handicap hurdle that didn't quite work out for her. So it's traditionally kind of strong wit. And what he did at Punchestown was pretty good. Didn't beat much, but he did jump really, really well. In fairness, and he looks like a horse that's got excess stamina. He won that race that Kilcroot won as well. And he'd fancy bumper form at France. He said they were disappointing at Leopardstown. And he hit the line really well. So while he needs to step up, as you say, it's an open year where you can take a flyer. I think the favourites got them all kind of covered probably, but there's definitely a lot of value each way options, and he's one that I didn't really kind of consider. But yeah, I can see the angle now, particularly the Mullins aspect of it. I just kind of thought he would be in sober.
It could be. I mean, Sober's one as well. Sober maybe
run kind of Moscow Flyer kind of.
Yeah.
I just think you might kind of revert to that, but you could again. That's kind of, and there's a lot of markets like that. There's a lot of markets that you can definitely pick away over the course of the weeks and find some nice prices that could definitely run really, really well. And the great thing is when you're betting at those kind of odds, you don't need to be all in and have a dogmatic opinion about the race. You're not kind of locked in and say, well, I'm nailing my colours to the mast for this, and you don't really give the opportunity for you to be kind of flexible and have a kind of neutral view on it closer to the time when you know all the kind of jockey bookings and ground and tactics and pace and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one for sure.
Well, we are going to wrap up the show there. Callum, all left me to do is to thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks again. See you next week.
Thank you very much, everyone that's tuned in. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.